So we are on Facebook Live now. We'd like to welcome His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj for joining us and giving your precious time. So His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj was born in Canada on 26 December, 38 to the most fortunate Japanese parents. His Holiness Bhanu Maharaj is one of the senior disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. BA degree in Oriental Fine Arts History from the University of British Columbia. He joined the Hare Krishna movement in India in 1970. Initiated in 1971 by Srila, he took sannyas vows in 1984. Bhanu Swami Maharaj was personally instructed in the art of deity worship by Srila Prabhupada, and within ISKCON he has become an authority on the topic. He is a great inspiration for many devotees around the world, and he preaches Krishna consciousness in Japan, Malaysia, Russia, and India. His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj met disciples of in 1971 in Tokyo, just after his graduation in history. Srila Prabhupada was about to set on his India tour with his Western disciples, and Maharaj joined with them. By 1972, His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj already earned credit from Srila Prabhupada for his exact Sanskrit pronunciation, expertise in cooking, and deity worship. He also began to translate Srila Prabhupada books into Japanese language. Bhanu Maharaj has been GBC member since 2003. His general assignments cover South India and is the co-GBC for Japan. His history in management is as a regional secretary for South India since 1986. Having spent the last few decades in residence in Chennai, he has clear understanding of the region. His GBC committee responsibilities include past chairmanship and in the parallel lines of authority committee for the strategic planning initiative. A scholar in Sanskrit and Bengali, Maharaj has translated 15 significant works, 15 or more significant works of the Gaudiya Vaishnava canon, with 6 more titles in progress. Many of these works are commentaries from primary members of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, Sri Ishopanishad and Srimad Bhagavatam. Thus, Maharaj's contribution is a lasting one. Bhanu Maharaj is quite achiever and has studied a variety of disciplines, including martial arts, Reiki healing, Carnatic music, specifically Veena. He is a reputed astrologer. His current efforts in spreading Krishna consciousness include completing the construction of temple in Chennai and stabilizing the new temple in Tokyo. Maharaj's depth of scholarship has enabled him to create presentations on topics like karma, reincarnation, yoga, and Srimad Bhagavatam. And he presents these as he travels to select parts of the world, enlivening those he meets with heartfelt spiritual intellectualism. He continues with this translation to this day, giving us the nectar from Bengali and Sanskrit verse of the previous Vaishnava acharyas to enhance our understanding of the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Currently, he is the executive member of the governing body commission of ISKCON. So we are very glad and very fortunate that we have His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj. Okay. So thank you so much, Maharaj. You can take over, Maharaj. Unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, now we can hear Maharaj.
Yeah, so after the introduction in the first chapter, then in the second chapter, Rupa Goswami discussed about sadhana bhakti. And sadhana bhakti had 2 types, Vaidya bhakti and Raganuga bhakti. And the basic definition was that sadhana bhakti was engagement of the senses to attain bhava. And both Raganuga and Vaidya bhakti, engagement of the senses to attain the bhava stage. And then next is the bhava stage, and finally we have prema stage. So these 2 chapters of this first part of the Nectar Devotion, the prema aspect is actually discussed as manifested fully in prema. So anyway, we have 3 types of bhakti: sadhana bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and Prem Bhakti. So Sadhana Bhakti has us, and now Rupa Goswami gives a definition of Bhav Bhakti, which distinguishes from sadhana and from prema. So this is the definition. When one begins to experience bliss, a ray of prema constituted of the Samvit and Hladini Shaktis coming from Krishna's Sarup Shakti, and the heart becomes softened by attraction to Krishna. It is called. So, experience bliss at that stage or ananda, but it is nothing in comparison to prema. It is one ray of the sun of prema, but in comparison to the bliss of liberation, of course, it is also very, very great. But still, in comparison to prema, it is also very small. So this bhava, which also becomes prema, is constituted of Samvit and Hladini Shaktis of the Lord. We know that the Sarup Shakti of the Lord has Samvit and Hladini types. So Samvit and Hladini are these two special aspects that manifest in the jiva, bhava. We can say that in general as Samvit and Hladini doesn't really manifest until we get to bhava and then prema. So what is the Samvit? The Samvit Shakti, Samvit of course means knowledge. So what we have like Satchit Ananda, Chit means knowledge also. So Samvit gives the capacity to perceive or to know, and particularly to know or to be aware of spiritual experience, to be aware of the form of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, to perceive the pastimes of Krishna. So that is, in other words, we get a spiritual eye. Our spiritual senses, not just the eye, but nose and touch, in order that we can perceive Krishna with our different spiritual senses. So we can say that Samvit allows the jiva to develop spiritual senses. So this arises, bhava can only arise through sadhana bhakti, unless we have special mercy cases. But it won't arise from doing karma yoga or jnana yoga. We cannot get bhava. We cannot get a spiritual senses manifesting through a karma yoga or jnana yoga, only through the process of bhakti. So, therefore, the jnani and the yogi and the karmi cannot perceive the Lord because they don't have any Samvit Shakti. Nothing is manifested. And it can never manifest unless we do bhakti. So the Hladini is the Shakti which allows the jiva to experience bliss, spiritual bliss in relation to the Lord. And this is, we say, the most important Shakti of Krishna because his very nature is, the nature of God is bliss. His ultimate quality is bliss. So his predominating Shakti is this bliss Shakti. So the jiva, if he develops bhava, then he can experience this ananda. So as I said in bhava stage, the ananda or the bliss is one ray of the sun of prema. But nevertheless, it is also ananda. So at this stage of bhava, one can experience spiritual bliss, which arises because we have some bit in which we can perceive the Lord and the pastimes of the Lord and relate with the Lord. So these two things are very important for the jiva. And because they manifest in bhava, the person in bhava can perceive the Lord, his qualities, and his pastimes, and begin to develop rasa. So previously I discussed that anusilana meant a cultivation of a relationship with Krishna, which can be active, or called Cheshtarupa Bhakti, which is prominent in sadhana bhakti, where we engage our senses, hearing and chanting and serving the deity. So we use our senses to serve the Lord. But there's another aspect of service also that is called Bhavarupa Bhakti. So that is one's relationship, emotional relationship with the Lord. It's also a type of cultivation, or you could say a type of service. But it is we could say the feelings of one has for the Lord. So this manifests in the bhava stage. So that's why it's called bhava. That bhava can take different types, like or asya or sakya or whatever. Nevertheless, this is one spiritual relationship with the Lord. This manifests in the bhava stage. Going to manifest a relationship with the Lord. Obvious that we do have to perceive the Lord and interact with the Lord. So that's why the so this bhava stage is distinct from sadhana bhakti because there is a perception of the Lord, a realization of the Lord, and an existence in relationship with the Lord. In sadhana bhakti, we do not perceive, we do not experience that bliss. We don't develop the senses, spiritual senses, to perceive the Lord in sadhana bhakti, and it happens. However, the development of bhava is not full. It's only full in prema. So therefore, the sattvika bhavas or ecstatic symptoms will be few, not too many. So symptoms like crying or fainting may occur, but common. So this bhava is an emotional, a spiritual emotion manifests in the jiva. It is not part of the ahankara or the mind or the intelligence or the senses. But because you're living in a body with a mind and a subtle body and a gross body, it may appear that a material emotions, material perceptions, that's actually not true. Bhava develops in the jiva itself. So from the jiva, then expands into the mental functions and takes over the material mind or the subtle body. But it is manifesting through the jiva, but it may look like it's coming. Bhava is an experience, and it's also a taste for the Lord. We develop this strong taste, sweet taste. And the nature of it is that it keeps increasing. That taste produces more. So bhava is a very spontaneous state. This distinguishes it from sadhana, where we practice. So it is not completely spontaneous. But in bhava state, because of that experience of bliss, everything becomes very spontaneous. What are the causes? The main cause is sadhana. We go from sadhana, and if we go through the different stages like Nishta, Ruchi, Asaki, then we bhava. So sadhana, it could be from Vaidhi, sadhana bhakti, or from Raganuga. Example of Vaidhi bhakti is Narada Muni explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he did Vaidhi bhakti, and then he got up to bhava stage where he could experience the Lord. So this is the normal method of developing bhava or realization of the Lord through sadhana. In rare cases, one can get to bhava by the mercy of the Lord. One may have to do some sadhana bhakti, but very quickly, without going through all the different stages, one can attain bhava stage and realize the Lord. So this is rare, but also it happens. This is mercy of Krishna himself. The Lord may give mercy through words. He says, I bless you, and then you get bhava. He may appear before you, and then you get bhava. Or internally, there may be a realization that causes bhava. So these are three ways in which the Lord can act so that a person gets bhava. One can get bhava through devotees, mercy of devotees. A devotee can suddenly advance and develop bhava stage. For instance, we see that Narada Muni gave mercy to Margari the hunter, and in 3 months he got bhava. So that there was a quick progress because of the mercy he got from Narada Muni. So very, very great devotees, they can give out this mercy, and a person bhava very quickly. Of course, this is also very rare. Sometimes we don't see mercy from the Lord or the devotee, but a person may develop bhava suddenly in this lifetime, which is also rare. But it's explained that in previous lifetimes, he had developed almost to the bhava stage. So in this lifetime, suddenly bhava may develop. So what are the types of bhava? So these are technically called the sthayi bhava, the permanent bhava manifests in the jiva. It could be shanta, dasya, sakya, vatsalya, or madhurya. With Krishna, of course, there's a choice. With Vishnu, basically, one can get up to dasya, and other forms of the Lord, well beyond that. With Krishna, we have more variety. These sthayi bhavas mix with other elements like sattvika bhavas and anubhavas, and that produces rasa. So from the dasya sthayi bhava, when it mixes with other elements, we get dasya rasa or sakya rasa, vatsalya rasa, and madhurya rasa. But when it's not mixed, then we just call it the sthayi bhava. We have shanta sthayi bhava, dasya sthayi bhava, sthayi bhava, vatsalya sthayi bhava, and madhurya sthayi bhava. There's a list of qualities. Of course, the qualities are not exhaustive, but when develops bhava, then there are certain visible qualities that manifest in a devotee. One is tolerance. The devotee at that is not affected by his material circumstances. Avyarta kalatvam, which means not wasting time. So he's always busy serving Krishna or other. Virakti, he's attached from material enjoyment. Mansunyata, he is devoid of pride. So he's very, very humble. Asabunda, he is confident of the Lord's mercy. Samukanta, he has a longing for the Lord. Name ruchi, a taste for chanting the name. Kame asakti, he's attached to hearing about the Lord's pastimes. Vasati stale priti, he's attached to living in the Dham of the Lord. So these are some of the prominent qualities that will manifest in a person at bhava stage. So we can see from this, he's always engaged in chanting and speaking about Krishna and living in the holy Dham, and he's detached from everything material. At the end of this section, Rupa Goswami talks about rati abhas. Rati is the same as bhava. So this means a reflection or a shadow of the bhava state, which means it's not really bhava. So we get the symptoms of rati, principally the ecstatic symptoms, and people who have not done sadhana bhakti, or very little at least. So this is called rati abhas or bhava. So we can say in many cases it's imitation. So there are two types of this abhas. One is called pratibimba ratyabha. Means a reflection. So this is not a good type. It's an imitation. So people will imitate ecstatic symptoms like crying and fainting. And they will get worshipped as great devotees because of their imitation. So this is quite devious. It's not considered very good. And usually it'll be people who are materially attached or people after liberation. And they may act like this to get some attention or to make some profit. So this is condemned. The second type is called chaya, shadow rati. And this is not devious. The person is not trying to imitate. And so they develop some symptoms like crying or fainting when they've just done a little spiritual practice. So we could say maybe sentiment or whatever is there mixed with their ecstatic symptoms. Experience a spiritual pleasure and they get some relief from material distress. So because it's considered to be not so bad as the other type of bimba. So if the person takes association of people practicing bhakti, then this person can actually develop through sadhana and get to the real bhava stage. Bhava is, we have a perception of the Supreme Lord, so it's quite rare and it's blissful. But it is different from prema because there's still some impurity there. And due to that impurity, you can fall from bhava state. It can lessen or change variety or even get destroyed, usually by aparad. So if one can commit serious aparad, the bhava can disappear. If it is a medium type of aparad, the bhava can turn into bhava bas. And if it's mild, the bhava simply weakens. So what is the cause? Why would one commit aparad? So Rupa Goswami explains, due to association with materialists or impersonalists, one can commit some aparad, and then from that the bhava can. Bharat was at bhava stage, and he saw Vishnu, and he had ecstatic symptoms. But then he forgot Vishnu. He fell from bhava, and he began worshiping a deer, caring for a deer. And at the end of his life, the deer, not the Lord. He fell from bhava stage. So how did he fall? So the answer is previous lifetime, he made some aparad, and that affected him in his life. So aparad can continue into bhava stage and affect the devotee there and cause some problems for him. Nevertheless, the stage of bhava is very elevated and it is very rare. And it may be difficult also to judge a person who's on bhava stage. And in fact, he may not act like a normal person, so we may think he has faults because of that. So we have to be very careful in relation to exalted persons on the bhava stage, and which is for fault. It's compared to finding faults in the moon. So the moon is generally considered to be very beautiful, but if we look closely, we can see some spots on it. So nevertheless, we shouldn't look for the spots on the moon. We should appreciate its beauty. Similarly, a person at the stage of bhava may look like he has some faults, but actually we should not criticize. He's higher than us, and we have no capacity for actually criticizing. Okay, so that's bhava bhakti. Huh? So when bhava bhakti progresses, it's not sadhana anymore. It's simply the taste increases and increases. Huh? And then it turns into prema bhakti. So the definition is here, when the heart is completely softened and attachment to Krishna becomes excessive and the bliss becomes intense, it's called bhava state. There's attachment to the Lord and the heart becomes melted and one has some attachment to the Lord, bliss. In prema, the heart completely melted, the attachment is very, very strong, and the bliss is very intense. So it can arise from bhava, and bhava arises from sadhana. So that's the normal process. You do sadhana bhakti, you get to bhava, from bhava you get to prema, as in the case of Muni. Yeah. So you can go through Vaidhi sadhana, and then from that you get a particular type of bhav bhakti, and from that you get a particular type of prem bhakti, influenced by the Vaidhi sadhana. So if you do the Vaidhi sadhana, the bhava that results and the prema that results has the influence of Vaidhi bhakti, which means that when you see the Lord, you think of his greatness. And so in prema, that came from doing sadhana and Vaidhi bhava, you'll get a realization of the Lord, but you realize him in greatness, the people of Mathura or Dwarka. If you do Raganuga sadhana, then you progress to Raganuga, the bhava that came out of Raganuga, and from there you get to prema. If you do this type of sadhana to get to prema, then you realize Krishna with no Aishwarya. That is Krishna in Vrindavan, Krishna and Goloka. So that's the difference between doing Raganuga and Vaidhi sadhana. The end result is slightly different. In other words, your sadhana will determine the final result, prema. Of course, in sadhana, you could change from the Vaidhi to Raganuga and then progress or whatever. But once you got into bhava, then there is no more sadhana. So once you're in bhava state, then you just get to prema. So whatever you've attained in bhava state, that will intensify prema. So therefore, we can say that the sadhana state is also very important for determining the final result. So it can arise by mercy of Krishna, again, as in bhava stage, by his presence, by words, etc. And then one can realize the greatness of the Lord. A person may have practiced Vaidhi Bhakti a little bit, then the Lord has mercy, and he can surpass bhava, even get to prema, and realize the Lord in greatness. But it's rare. If a person was practicing Kevala prema or practicing Raganuga or whatever, then he may get mercy and suddenly he advances to prema, Kevala prema. So this means realizing Krishna and Vrindavan. So if when it started with Raganuga Bhakti and got mercy, then one ends up with this prema, which is in Vrindavan. Okay. What are the activities and characteristics of a person in prema? In bhava stage, there was those 13 characteristics like not wasting time, etc., attachment to the things. In prema, Rupa Goswami says, even a person who knows the scripture cannot understand the activities of a person in prema. So the person in prema is very unpredictable, and his activities are most astonishing. And we cannot judge them in any way at all. So that's the exalted nature of a person in prema. Very, very unique person. So we have to be very careful not to judge such a person in terms of our particular rules, etc. Okay, that's it. This was a short section. So both of these are very short because the rest of the book is about prema. And even that section on prema covers all types. It goes through Shanta Rasa, Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, and Madhurya Rasa. But the Madhurya Rasa section is very short again. So Rupa Goswami writes another book called Ujjvala Nilamani, and that's only about Madhurya Rasa. So in that book, he goes into detail about Madhurya Rasa more than in the Nectar of Devotion. But he analyzes things in the same way. He goes through the different bhavas within Madhurya Rasa, like bhavas, subject bhavas, etc. And he analyzes each of these different components, much as he does in Nectar of Devotion. Okay, so that ends the eastern section of the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. So, any question there?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Maharaj, I have three questions. First, you mentioned about like in the rare mercy that do like Prahlad Maharaj and Murari the hunter actually attained by the mercy of Narad Muni. But we hear that Prahlad Maharaj was already a Nitya Siddha or a mixed Siddha. He was also doing sadhana, or his Amsha was doing sadhana, whereas he was coming from spiritual
Yeah.
world.
Well, even
So
Narada
how do
Muni
we
actually.
understand like how?
Our Narada
Yeah.
Muni is actually a Shaktivesh avatar. So in one sense, he's playing a Leela. So as a Leela, it's an example of advancing like that. Some of these things are Leela things where Narada Muni is the son of a maidservant and he advances in Vaidhi Bhakti and then gets Bhava and Prema. So that's, we can say, also just one sense to illustrate something, but actually he's generally in the spiritual world of Prema. So some examples are like that. Others are examples of people who are in the material world. They get mercy, but it's rare. An example of, we could say, extreme example of mercy is someone like Putana, who gets killed by the Lord and gets some sort of bhava in the spiritual world.
Okay. And Maharaj also mentioned that Bharat Maharaj had some previous time aparadh. So
Yeah.
how? I mean, we can understand that when we are performing some, and if we commit some aparadh, then we get the reaction in this life. But if the aparadh from previous life, if they are affecting our devotional service, then why should we perform devotional service? Because that is affecting at the state of bhava, not even at the state of sadhana. So how do we like really
It may
understand
also
this?
affect in sadhana. It may also affect in sadhana.
Yeah. So why he got some disturbance at the stage of bhava?
Why?
Yeah. Like why there was no disturbance at sadhana stage, but it was manifested at the stage of bhava.
Well, there's no explanation for that, but the idea is that why did he fall? So the explanation is that there had to be some cause for that. Why did he become attracted to the deer? Because once you experience Krishna, normally you would not fall into a lower taste at all. So Jiva Goswami mentions this in Bhakti Sandarbha, that it was because of some previous aparad from a previous birth that disturbed his heart in bhava stage, and therefore this happened. But what it means is that aparad takes longer to destroy than karmas. And generally, by the end of a sakti stage, all karmas are gone. But the aparads will have their effect even in bhava stage. So that's why we have to be careful of aparad, because they last longer and they can affect you even in later stages.
Okay. So Maharaj, like if we are not aware of what aparad we have committed in the previous life, then how do we get rid of that aparad so that if we can progress to other higher stages, then we can make sure that we don't fall down from that stage?
Well, yeah. All we can do is, if we don't even know what the aparad is, then all we can do is continue our bhakti. In the case of someone in bhava stage, we see like Bharat, though he fell down, the Lord made an arrangement for him to progress. So even if we do have problems at that stage, the Lord is willing to help the devotees. So Bharat became a deer, but as a deer, he had memory of his previous lifetime. That was an arrangement of the Lord, special mercy. And then in his next lifetime, he got prema. So the whole incident helped Bharat Maharaj to get to a higher level. That's the arrangement of the Lord.
Okay, Maharaj, I do remember Vishwanath Thakur quotes that uh, in order to increase the intensity of his prema, the Lord awarded him 3 lifetimes. Maharaj, then, like we also hear that when one commits an aparad or sinful activity in the dham, then that in the next life they come back as an animal and they live in the dham, and then after finishing the animal body, they go back to the spiritual world in the same lifetime. But here we see that Jad Bharata, he came, he had to take 3 lifetimes instead of just going back to Godhead in the second lifetime. So, what is the difference in these two cases?
Well, it would depend on, it's automatic. It's all depending on particular cases because everybody's an individual, and also the result is different. So one may become an animal and then become, go to the spiritual world, but then one may have a very dilute form of rasa, whatever, like that. Just as the demons can go to the spiritual world, but their rasa is not like the devotees' rasa because they were never devotees. They didn't cultivate. So rasa is very dilute. So it all depends on the individual and the practice they've done. And according to that, we get results, even if there is mercy involved.
Okay. Uh, okay. And Maharaj, if a devotee is practicing in Vrindavan, but later he commits sinful activities, his original desire was to be with Krishna in Vrindavan. So then that means next life, if he comes as an animal in the dham, then again he has to take another birth in order to attain the Lord.
Well, I said nothing is automatic. It's not that, okay, then they will think, well, then I'll stay in the Dhamma and I'll become an animal, then I'll get so it's not so automatic as that. It's all individual case.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, I think Maharaj, your
So
voice
you
is.
may not. Yeah, so it's nothing is automatic.
Okay, okay. Yeah, actually, I couldn't hear. most of the things because I think your voice is breaking. Uh, Okay, Maharaj, we have question from Alisha Mataji. Uh, so Alisha Mataji, would you like to ask Maharaj directly?
Am I audible enough? I don't know if Maharaj is able to hear me.
Can hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. Maharaj, my question is that how can, Nitya Baddhas achieve the stage of prema, because we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give the highest perfection. So how can we achieve that? And should we depend on our sadhana or should we depend on mercy or both?
Well, obviously we have to do sadhana. To just depend on mercy is rare, so you're not going to get that problem because Krishna's not going to appear before you and give you mercy. That's a rare case. And Narada Muni is also not going to appear, so that's also rare in that sense. So you have to do sadhana. But in sadhana, we and ultimately the mercy of Krishna even there. But it does sadhana. So the normal cause advancement is sadhana. And if we do that effectively, then we can advance steadily.
Okay. Another question by Swati Mataji. Thank you, Maharaj. Previous life aparad does not affect the prema stage. Is that correct? Also, are there chances of committing aparad in the stages of bhava and prema?
Well, in bhava there is, as I said, if you associate with Mayavadis or something like that, then you could commit offense, and then you can weaken your bhava or even destroy your bhava. In prema, there's no possibility of anything happening to you.
Maharaj, I remember in one class you had mentioned at the stage of prema there may be some unintentional and you had example of Swami how he saw one
No, because
devotee coming
we're
towards
in the
him and
material body, we're in the material world, in the material body, then intentional problem like that may occur, but there's intentional apparatus.
Okay, so if we commit unintentional aparad at the state of bhava, at the state of prema, can we fall down from that state, or it will only weaken our prema for some time?
Probably just weaken it, that's all.
Okay, so any other devotees there question? Maharaj, you had also mentioned that this Sanvit and Ladini potency is needed in order to attain bhava, and one ray of love will enter the heart at the state of bhava. So below the state of bhava, we also require knowledge as well as bliss in order to perform bhakti. So is that real Samvit and Ladini?
It's like our the previous is like the plant. So in Bhava stage, the flower manifests, and you get Hladini and Samvit manifesting in that particular form. For that, we can say they're present, but in an unmanifested components, but it's not fully manifested of the flower. Knowledge that we get is spiritual knowledge, and not pure happiness, but we don't call it non, and we don't call it Samvit.
Okay. Actually, what I understood, Maharaj, because your voice is breaking in between. So what I understood is that below the state of bhava, it as spiritual bliss and knowledge instead of calling it as Samvit and Ladini. Is that right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Mamta Mataji has a question. ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams. Maharaj, my question is related to our eternal position. When we go back to our eternal position before, and when we go back also, we go back to the same position. But in case of Dhruv Maharaj, he went back to a planet which was given to him. So does this mean this
Who?
planet does
Oh,
this mean that this planet always existed and he went back to Dhrava planet, his own planet? Like, how do we understand that it was his eternal position? He went back and this was something pre existed, or Krishna created a new planet for him, or was it his eternal position?
that's for Dhruva.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji. I'm sorry. Yes, Maharaj. Sorry.
One place I think one of our acharyas says that after Dhruva Loka, then he went to Vaikuntha.
Sorry, Maharaj. I couldn't hear that.
So it wasn't after he went to Dhruva Loka, then he went to Vaikuntha. So Dhruva Loka was also temporary. Well, as long as the universe lasts. He also went to the spiritual world after that.
Oh, got it.
So that
Thank
was
you.
a temporary.
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Okay. Maharaj, another question is that in ISKCON we are not following the this Raganuga sadhana and all. It's not being emphasized also.
Mm.
So how do we attain the stages of bhava and prema? And we don't find any devotees who have actually probably reached this stage. So like how
But
do
you
we
can attain bhava and
understand?
bhakti also, as I said. Yeah. You can go through Vaidhi Bhakti and get to bhava and prema, or you can get through Raganuga, either way. The realization is a little different, that's all. Prema is a little different pace.
Okay, so if a devotee is practicing Vaidhi Bhakti and if a devotee is practicing Raganuga, then they will attain the same destination.
No, as I mentioned, you go, if you do Vaidhi Bhakti, then the prema has Aishvarya mixed with it. If you do Raganuga, then you have without the fire. So that's like Vrindavan realization.
I think Maharaj all to go to Vrindavan from ISKCON. So what is the method to go to like Goloka by following the uh, teachings that Srila Prabhupada gave, because it does not include the external following of Raganuga Bhakti.
Well, even if the externals are not there, the actual import of Raganuga is to develop attachment for the Vrindavan pastimes of Krishna and those devotees, and to cultivate a similar type of relationship. So that's really the essence of the Raganuga sadhana. So by concentrating on appreciating those devotees in Vrindavan and the way they serve Krishna, then we can develop the Raganuga.
Okay, so you are saying that the foundational principle of Raganuga Bhakti, which is getting attracted students of Vrindavan, that's actually the most important.
Mm.
Okay. Any other question? Devotees, do they have any other questions? Maharaj, you also mentioned that there are, devotees like Narad Muni who are bestowing mercy, and there are different types of devotees attaining Kripa Siddha by the special mercy of the Lord or the devotees. So then you mentioned in the Bhava section category that Narad Muni is bestowing his mercy to Murari the hunter, and then in 3 months he's attaining Bhava. Whereas in the example of prema, you also quoted another example, and you said that devotees can also bestow prema to them. So the question is that why don't devotees directly bestow prema? Why they have to even bestow bhava?
What is that? Why?
Why like a devotee will directly bestow prema, right? I mean, why he has to bestow bhava?
Who?
Devotee
Who is
who are
that?
bestowing mercy will directly bestow instead of bhava, right?
Why the devotee bestows bhava but not prema? You're saying?
Yeah. I mean, if they are able to directly give prema, then why to even bestow bhava?
Well, that's up to them. You better ask them. It's
Okay.
their discretion. Like even Krishna, he may not do anything, or he may give bhava, he may give prema, he may give whatever. But it's up to Krishna.
Yeah, I mean, like I asked because in bhava at least we have the risk of committing aparadhs and falling down, but at least in prema we don't have that risk. That's why.
Hmm. But anyway, we see that Krishna arranges for those persons like Bharat, even if they do fall. So it's not there's no loss in the long run.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Maharaj. So another question by Mummy. Yeah, Mataji, would you like to ask directly?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavad Pranams. Maharaj, we do see some devotees, they pretend like they cry and they pretend like they have got the bhava. But by doing that, does that manifest eventually to them?
Well, no, practicing crying is not a good way to do sadhana. This is that Chayanama Vas. So it's not as bad as the pratibimba, where you actually artificially act it out. But at the same time, it's not the method by which you advance. The method you advance is by doing sadhana bhakti, not by imitating or by showing these symptoms.
Great, thank you very much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
We have another question, Swati Mataji. What is difference between Anubhav and Sthai Bhav?
Anubhavas are activities that one does. So, for instance, Mother Yasoda cooks for Krishna, bathes Krishna, decorates Krishna. These are the anubhavas of Yasoda. Cowherd boys play with Krishna. That's their anubhava. The sthai bhava for the cowherd boys is sakyam sthai bhava. And for Yasoda, it is vatsalya sthai.
Okay. Maharaj, is it possible for you if you can briefly explain these different rasas, the vibhav, the vyabhichari bhav, the sattvic bhav, and so devotees can get some idea?
I can, but I don't have much time because I got another meeting in 5 minutes. Let me see. I'll show you something here. Where is it? Just a minute here.
And Maharaj, there is one last question by Jigna Mataji. What is the difference between bhav abhas and bhav weakness due to committing a
What is that? What is the difference between
bhav abhas and bhav weakness due to committing a
Baba Boss and what?
Yeah, Mataji, would you like to directly ask Maharaj?
Okay, sure. Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandvat Pranam. Maharaj, you were mentioning that due to the depends on the severity of the aparadha. If one commit the severe aparadha, then they may fall down from the bhava stage. And if the moderate, one can have the bhava abhas. And if it's very mild kind of aparadha, then they may have a bhava weakness. That's what like you were mentioning through the slides, so right, from Maharaj. So I
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
understand what is the difference between the bhava abhas and a bhava weakness.
Oh, well, let's say you have bhava, but it'll get it's 20% or 50% or 6%, and then abhas means it's weaker than that. It's something like the person who's sometimes cries, but it's not a real bhava anymore. So a weakened bhava is still the bhava. A bhava bhas, it's not the bhava anymore, but say there's a few symptoms like it, but it's not the real bhava.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Okay, Maharaj, so are you going? Okay.
So this is the, okay. The Sthai Bhava is your relation, Santa or whatever, Vatsalya, whatever. Vibhava refers to the type of devotee and Krishna or Vishnu or whatever. So you could be with Krishna, you could be a cowherd boy and Krishna, or you could be a gopi and Krishna, a Manjari and Krishna, or a parent and Krishna. So that's called the Vibhava. And that's necessary to get a Sthai Bhava. A Sthai Bhava does not exist in isolation. It's a relationship between the devotee and the Supreme Lord in some form or other. So you both have particular forms. So that's the Vibhava. Anubhavas are the actions that you do, conscious actions, like playing or cooking or whatever, bathing Krishna. That's called Anubhava. Sattvic Bhava, the unconscious ecstatic symptoms like crying and fainting and shivering, and change of color and choking of the voice, hair standing on end. Vyabhachari bhavas are minor emotions like worry and fear, anxiety, regret, lamentation, etc. These are called Vyabhachari bhavas. So they all mix together with the Sthai bhava, and that produces rasa. Okay.
Okay. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your time and for your wonderful present.
Okay.
We hope to we look forward for your association soon, Maharaj. And
Okay.
yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Please accept our humble obeisances. All
Okay.
goes to Srila Prabhupada. All goes to you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Maharaj is left.